These notes are the Cold War starts for U.S. history. Make sure, first of all, that you have your heading correct on your paper with your period number, the Cold War starts topic. And also remember, this is a recording, so I'm just going to go normal speed through it. And if you need to pause it and work on it, you certainly can do that. This will be due when you take your quiz this week. And I only accept the notes, scan or photo if I can see the heading. So just be careful that everything is correct. Okay, what you see here is Stalin standing next to Truman. And this is just before the Cold War kind of starts, right before the end of World War II. We had been allies and cooperating with the Soviets up until that point. But once the Nazis and the Japanese are defeated, we're going to become rivals with the Soviet Union. The definition of the Cold War is the period of 1945 to 1991, where we're constantly in conflict or competition, but not at war. Sorry, everyone. Had a little technical problem there. So it is because the US and the Soviet Union are the only military superpowers left after World War II. So we went from being allies to rivals for that 50-year period. It happened because the Yalta Conference kind of made it clear that once the Nazis were defeated, we were going to have to cooperate to rebuild Europe. And even though we do that, it was, the issue of Germany that first put us in conflict with Stalin. Stalin moved into East Germany. We moved into West Germany. And that country was divided and would remain divided for the entire Cold War. Sorry, everyone. And because of that, we were, constantly suspicious of what Stalin was doing, that he would not leave East Germany. The Marshall Plan was the plan to rebuild Europe after World War II. And you can see that the lines on the countries indicate the amount of money that they got. We gave the most aid to France, Britain, and Germany. And the countries that are in gray are Soviet bloc countries. They were dominated by the Soviet Union. So you can see it wasn't just Germany that's going to be divided during the war. It's going to be all of Europe. Western Europe, they're in green. Most of those countries are going to be NATO members. And most of the countries that you see there in gray are going to be Soviet bloc members, not Finland, not Spain, but the others. Here's what Germany looks like for the entire Cold War. East Germany is communist, West Germany is democratic. And go ahead and copy this little T-chart onto your paper. And it just gives us a little visual illustration of the two superpowers during the Cold War and what they wanted. So first of all, on the left, write down the goal of the United States. The United States' goal during the Cold War is to keep communism from spreading. Sometimes that was a real fear, sometimes it was just paranoia, but that was their goal. Then go ahead and put a quick sketch of the American flag. And then underneath that, you have the United States as the superpower. And the military alliance that the United States was a part of was called NATO, and I'll get to that in just a minute. On the other side, on the right side, you see the Soviet Union. Their goal is to spread communism, or at least create a protective barrier of countries for itself. You can sketch the Soviet flag there. And the Soviet Union's alliance was called the Warsaw Pact. So the Warsaw Pact wanted to maintain or spread communism, and NATO and the United States wanted to keep it from spreading. Okay. So NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and it's the military alliance founded by the United States. It included the countries of Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, the United Kingdom, and the United States. So those countries, being in that alliance together, the promise was that they would help each other resist communism. And they would come to the aid of any country that was attacked by the Soviets or by a communist country. So if Belgium was attacked, for example, all of those other countries would come to Belgium's aid, and the United States, as the main superpower, would be protecting that country with their military. So, as you can see in red there, NATO's main goal was an alliance of these countries to help each other resist communism. And NATO still exists, slightly different goal now, but there's the flag of NATO you see on the right. A couple of terms. Containment is to stop the spread of communism. So you could say that the goal of the United States and NATO during the Cold War is to contain communism. And the fear was the domino theory. That was the idea that if one country falls to communism, neighboring countries will fall also. And we saw that pattern in Europe when, for example, Poland, then East Germany fell to communism. And then again in China, when China fell to communism, pretty soon Korea and North Korea and South Korea, we were worried that they would also fall to communism. So that is the domino theory. And speaking of the Korean War began June 25th, 1950, and there was a lot of border clashes right after World War II between North and South Korea. And we went in on the side of South Korea after it was attacked by North Korean communists. And this had happened after there was a communist revolution in China, so China was also helping North Korea. Sorry. Finishing up this little part here, the Republicans in 1952 chose Dwight Eisenhower as their candidate. Eisenhower is going to win the presidency in 1952. So that last part of the Korean War is going to be overseen by General Eisenhower. But just to give you an idea, he's elected in 1952 and is going to be president until 1960. So for most of the 50s, when we're talking about it, Eisenhower will be president. Go ahead and put end on your topic of the Cold War.